The winter air was cold, the silence thick with the weight of unspoken things. In the quiet, echoing corridors of the monastery, Padre Pio remained in his chapel, deep in prayer. The faint flicker of candlelight cast long shadows across the stone walls, and he continued his ritual of praying for souls, especially those forgotten by the world, lost in the forgotten corners of purgatory. But on this particular night, something strange would happen that would alter his life forever. Padre Pio, the humble Capuchin friar known for his piety and profound connection with the divine, had spent countless nights in prayer, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to witness. His prayerful solitude was interrupted by something inexplicable. The wind howled outside, making the old stones creak, as though the very building was alive. But within the chapel, a sudden chill crept through the air. Padre Pio remained on his knees, his eyes closed, yet something felt different. It wasn't just the cold or the wind, it was a presence that seemed to hover in the air like a whisper. He opened his eyes slowly, unsure if exhaustion had finally taken hold. What he saw made his breath catch in his chest. A small figure, no taller than a child, began to take shape near the doorway. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light, the flickering of the candle. Perhaps, but no. The figure moved. Soft footsteps echoed across the floor, too soft to be physical, but somehow unmistakably real. "Who's there?" Padre Pio's voice trembled as he called out, but his heart raced. He felt a strange combination of fear and curiosity, something that told him this was not an ordinary visitor. The figure grew clearer, as if woven together by the moonlight that filtered through the stained glass. A little girl, no older than 7 or 8, appeared before him. Her skin was pale, almost transparent, like mist. She clutched her small hands together, as though frightened to be seen, yet there was no malice in her eyes. There was only sorrow, deep, aching sorrow that seemed to emanate from her very being. Padre Pio's heart filled with an inexplicable compassion. He felt no evil presence, no sign of deception. Instead, it was as if the very air was filled with grief. The little girl stood before him, her eyes wide and searching, but with no intention of harm. Her presence seemed to speak of something tragic and innocent, something lost. "Father," the voice was faint, barely above a whisper, yet it pierced the silence. Padre Pio froze. The child spoke as if she had been waiting for him, waiting for someone to see her, to hear her, to help her. "Please don't be afraid of me," she said softly, her voice trembling like a distant memory of pain. The words she spoke were heavy, as though she carried a burden that no child should bear. "How do you know me?" Padre Pio managed to ask, his voice shaking. The little girl, Lucia, looked down at the floor, hesitating before she spoke again. "Because I've been waiting for you," she whispered. The atmosphere in the chapel shifted again. The candles flickered once more, and somewhere deep within the monastery, a door creaked open as though responding to the girl's words. Padre Pio, feeling a wave of protective instinct, slowly stood up, afraid that any sudden movement might make the apparition vanish. His heart was still racing, but he was driven by a need to understand, to help this lost soul. "What is your name, little one?" he asked gently, afraid to startle her. There was a long pause, as if the girl were unsure of whether speaking it aloud might bring even more danger. Finally, she whispered, "Lucia." The name hung in the air, fragile and delicate like the last breath of a dying ember. And as Padre Pio gazed at the small, sorrowful figure before him, something stirred deep within his soul. This wasn't just an encounter with a child's soul. It was a calling, a plea for help. "Lucia," Padre Pio repeated softly, his voice full of compassion. "How did you come to be here?" The girl hesitated, her eyes darkening with fear. "I'm lost," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know where I belong. I've been waiting for so long for someone to find me, to understand what happened." Padre Pio's heart ached as he listened. The sorrow in her voice was unlike anything he had ever heard before. He could feel the weight of her pain, as if she had been burdened by something far beyond her years. He knew that she was not merely a lost spirit, but a soul who had been harmed, a soul who had suffered deeply. With a gentle hand, he motioned for her to come closer. She moved toward him slowly, her steps soft and hesitant. "Who harmed you, Lucia?" he asked, his voice filled with urgency. "Who did this to you?" Lucia looked up, Her large eyes filled with a mixture of fear and sadness. It was someone I trusted," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Someone who should have cared for me. But instead, they hurt me. They left me alone, abandoned me." Padre Pio felt a surge of anger. Who could do such a thing to a child? To harm a soul so pure, so innocent? But more than anger, there was a deep sadness that filled him, knowing that this child had suffered in silence for so long. The weight of her story was heavy on his heart, but it was also clear that Lucia needed his help. She needed him to bring peace to her troubled soul. "Lucia," Padre Pio said softly, "you are not alone now. I will pray for you, and I will help you find peace. No one deserves to suffer like this." The little girl nodded, her eyes filling with gratitude. "Thank you, Father," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me, for hearing me. I've been waiting for so long." Padre Pio closed his eyes, offering a silent prayer for the child's soul. The air around them seemed to lighten, as if the darkness that had surrounded Lucia was beginning to lift. Slowly, the girl began to fade, her form dissolving like mist in the morning sun. Before she vanished completely, Lucia looked up at Padre Pio one last time. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for freeing me." As the last trace of her presence disappeared, Padre Pio remained in the chapel, kneeling in prayer. He knew that this encounter was no ordinary one. The sorrow that had filled the air was gone, but the memory of Lucia lingered in his heart. He had witnessed something profound, something that transcended life and death. He had seen the soul of a child who had suffered, and in that moment, he had given her peace. Padre Pio's life was never the same after that night. He had always been a man of faith, but this experience deepened his understanding of the spiritual world, of the souls in purgatory, and of the immense responsibility he had to help those who were lost. His prayers for the forgotten souls became even more fervent, and he never forgot the name of the little girl who had appeared before him in the chapel that winter night. Padre Pio's encounter with Lucia was a reminder that there are forces beyond our understanding, forces that can connect us to the past, to the spirits of those who have passed on. It was a testament to the power of prayer, to the importance of helping those in need, whether they are living or dead. And though Lucia had been freed from her torment, her story lived on in Padre Pio's heart. He carried her memory with him, and her name became a symbol of the power of compassion, the power of prayer, and the enduring spirit of those who are lost but not forgotten. As Padre Pio continued his mission, the memory of Lucia lingered in his heart, a quiet presence he could not shake off. Her sorrow had touched him deeply, but it also made him more resolute in his work. Each night, as he knelt to pray, his mind would wander back to the little girl and the promise he had made to help those forgotten souls. He felt a calling stronger than ever before, a mission that transcended his duties as a priest. It was a duty to every soul in need of compassion and salvation. Months passed, and the monastery remained a place of peace and solitude. But Padre Pio's prayers for the souls of the departed began to change. He could no longer simply pray for them in the abstract, as if they were distant, nameless beings. Instead, each prayer became a personal plea, a heartfelt cry for those souls he had come to know through their stories. Lucia's memory burned brightly in his heart, and with it, a new understanding of the suffering of the unseen world. One evening, while he was deep in prayer, the chapel's silence was again broken, but this time, the presence that filled the air was not the same as before. It was different, more intense, yet softer in its own way. Padre Pio opened his eyes slowly, his hands clasped tightly in prayer. This time, the figure that appeared before him was not a child, but a man, tall and imposing, though there was something about his presence that felt strange, unnatural. His form was cloaked in shadows, his features indistinct. He appeared as though he were made of the same darkness that lingered in forgotten corners of the world. Unlike Lucia, this figure did not emanate sorrow. Instead, there was something almost menacing in its silence. Padre Pio's heart skipped a beat. He could sense the figure was here for a reason. But what was it? Was this another soul lost in the depths of purgatory? Or was there something more to this encounter? "Who are you?" Padre Pio asked, his voice steady despite the unease that gripped him. The figure did not respond immediately. It remained still, as if weighing its next words carefully. Padre Pio did not move, though his instinct told him that this was no ordinary soul. There was something more, a burden that the figure carried, something that could not remain hidden for much longer. Finally, the shadowed figure spoke, his voice like the crackling of dry leaves in the wind. "I have come because you saw her, Lucia." His words were heavy, laden with an anger that lingered in the air like smoke. Padre Pio's breath caught in his chest. "What is it you want?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. The figure stepped forward, its shadow growing longer and darker as it approached. "You freed her," the figure hissed, its voice dripping with resentment. "You should not have seen her. You should not have freed her from what was rightfully mine." Padre Pio's heart pounded in his chest. The weight of the figure's words settled over him like a storm cloud. "What do you mean?" he asked, struggling to comprehend the depth of what was happening. The figure let out a cold, mirthless laugh. "I am the one who caused her suffering," he said, the words cutting through the silence like a knife. "I am the one who abandoned her, and now you've taken her from me." Padre Pio stood up slowly, the realization dawning on him like a flicker of light in the darkness. The figure before him was no mere soul, it was the one who had harmed Lucia, the one who had caused the child's suffering, the one who had abandoned her to the shadows. The darkness in his form was not just the absence of light, but the embodiment of guilt, remorse, and a twisted desire for control. "You," Padre Pio said, his voice trembling with both anger and compassion. "You are the one who left her alone. You are the one who hurt her." The figure recoiled, its shadow quivering as if the truth had stung. "I did what I had to do," it murmured, almost as if trying to justify its actions. "She was weak. She was nothing. She deserved nothing more than to fade away, like so many others." Padre Pio's heart ached. "No," he whispered. "She was not weak. She was a child, a soul who deserved love, not abandonment." There was a long silence between them, and in that moment, Padre Pio felt the full weight of the figure's guilt and the torment it had carried for so long. But there was also something else, something darker that lingered in the figure's presence. It was the desire to keep Lucia trapped in the shadows, to deny her the peace she had finally found. "Why are you here now?" Padre Pio asked, his voice quiet but firm. "What do you want from me?" The figure's eyes flickered with a strange, unsettling hunger. "I want you to leave her alone," it said, its voice now softer, almost pleading. "She is mine to torment, mine to control. You cannot help her. You cannot take her from me." Padre Pio's heart surged with determination. "I will help her," he said resolutely. "I will help all those who are lost, all those who have been forgotten. You cannot keep them trapped in your darkness. They deserve peace, and I will help them find it." The figure's shadow seemed to writhe, twisting and contorting as if struggling against an unseen force. But Padre Pio stood firm, unyielding. He had seen the truth of Lucia's suffering, and he knew that he could not let it continue. "You may have caused her pain," Padre Pio said, his voice unwavering, "but you will not keep her in your grip. I will pray for her soul. I will bring her peace." With those words, the figure let out a final, anguished cry, its form dissolving into the air like smoke in the wind. Padre Pio stood in silence, his heart heavy but resolute. The presence of the figure was gone, but the weight of its presence lingered, a reminder of the battles fought in the unseen realms of the spirit. Padre Pio returned to his prayers, his heart at peace. He knew that he had done what was right, that he had given Lucia the freedom she deserved. And though the figure's shadow had threatened to pull her back into the darkness, Padre Pio's faith had prevailed. As he knelt once more, offering a prayer for Lucia and for all the souls in need of salvation, he knew that he had fulfilled his purpose. He had been the light in the darkness, the one who had seen the forgotten souls and brought them peace. Lucia's name would forever remain in his heart, a symbol of the innocence lost and the redemption found in the light of compassion and love. And as for the figure, it was gone, its power broken, its grip on the innocent shattered by the strength of a heart that would not turn away from those in need. As Padre Pio finished his prayers, he sat quietly in the stillness of the chapel, the weight of the events weighing heavily on his heart. He had faced darkness, both within the spirit of the figure that had harmed Lucia and within the depths of his own soul, as he fought to bring peace to a lost child. But in the end, he knew that this battle, like so many others, was not his to fight alone. It was through the grace of God and the power of prayer that he had been able to help Lucia find the peace she so desperately needed. In the days that followed, Padre Pio found himself reflecting deeply on the nature of his work. Every soul he encountered, whether living or deceased, left an imprint on him, a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of compassion. The story of Lucia, though it was a single soul among countless others, became a cornerstone of his ministry. It was a reminder of the power of prayer, the importance of never giving up on those who are forgotten, and the boundless mercy of God. His prayers for the souls in purgatory became even more fervent. He prayed not just for the souls he had encountered directly, but for every soul in need, whether they were lost in the dark recesses of the spiritual world or trapped in the suffering of their earthly lives. His faith was stronger than ever, and his commitment to helping others grew with each passing day. Padre Pio's encounter with Lucia had also deepened his understanding of the suffering of others. He realized that sometimes the most innocent and pure souls bear the heaviest burdens. It was a humbling thought, one that made him even more dedicated to his work. The child who had been abandoned, forgotten, and left to suffer had been seen by him, and that act of seeing, of truly witnessing her pain, had been the key to her salvation. In the weeks that followed, Padre Pio shared his experience with his fellow priests, though only in the most reverent and humble terms. He spoke not of his own strength, but of God's mercy and grace. It was a story that was not about him, but about the souls he was entrusted to protect, guide, and comfort. He continued to be a beacon of light to those around him, offering solace and hope to all who came to him. One day, as Padre Pio sat quietly in the chapel, a young novice approached him, seeking guidance. The novice had heard of his profound spiritual gifts and the mysterious events that had unfolded within the monastery. The novice asked him, "Father, what is the secret to helping those who are lost? How do you bring them peace?" Padre Pio smiled gently, the wisdom of his experiences shining through in his eyes. "The secret," he said softly, "is not in our strength, but in our willingness to open our hearts, to see others as they are, to understand their suffering, and to offer them love. That is the true path to peace." The novice nodded, taking the words to heart. He understood that the path of compassion and prayer was not always easy, but it was the path that led to true healing and redemption. Padre Pio's words stayed with him long after that conversation, guiding him as he walked the path of his own spiritual journey. As the years passed, the story of Lucia, the little girl who had appeared to Padre Pio in the chapel, became a cherished memory, a symbol of the boundless mercy of God. It was a story that was shared quietly among those who knew Padre Pio, a reminder of the depth of his faith and the power of his prayers. Padre Pio never spoke of Lucia in any public way, but in the quiet moments of his prayers, he would often offer a prayer for her soul, remembering her as the child who had taught him the true meaning of compassion and mercy. He had seen the suffering of one soul, and in doing so, he had seen the suffering of many others. But more importantly, he had seen the light that could emerge from the darkest of places. As he grew older, Padre Pio's health began to decline, and he knew that his time on earth was coming to an end. But even in his final days, he never wavered in his commitment to helping others. He continued to pray for the souls of the departed, for the lost, the forgotten, and the broken. And as his health weakened, his spirit grew stronger, his faith unshakable. One evening, as the sun began to set behind the monastery, Padre Pio sat in his room, surrounded by the quiet peace of the evening. The world outside was still, and inside, there was only the sound of his breath and the steady rhythm of his prayers. He knew that his journey was coming to an end, but he felt no fear. He had done what he had been called to do, and he had helped those who had been lost and forgotten. As he closed his eyes for the final time, a sense of calm washed over him. He felt the presence of Lucia again, though this time it was not the sorrowful spirit of a lost child. Instead, it was the peaceful presence of a soul who had found her way home. She had been the one to teach him about the importance of compassion and prayer, and now she was a part of the light that awaited him on the other side. Padre Pio passed away quietly, surrounded by the love and prayers of his fellow priests. And as the years passed, his legacy lived on, not just in the miracles attributed to him, but in the hearts of those who had been touched by his unwavering faith and his commitment to helping others. The story of Lucia, the little girl whose soul Padre Pio had helped find peace, remained a testament to the power of love, mercy, and faith. It was a story that would be passed down through generations, reminding all who heard it that no soul is truly lost, and that with compassion and prayer, even the most forgotten can be found and brought into the light.